right, we are back. This is Creativity is the Cure podcast. I am your host, Malcolm Moore, and today my guest is the one and only Andre Howard. How you doing, Dre?
I'm good, man. Thanks for that intro. I appreciate it.
Where are you
I'm
speaking
good. I'm
to
good.
us from?
Live in New York City, man. You know what I mean? Harlem, Sugar Hill area, where I've been for many, many years. But let me make sure I give a shout out to the hometown where I'm really from.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm from the east side of Buffalo, that Rick James shit. You know
Wait,
what I
wait,
mean?
wait.
But
I had read that and I was excited because you know where I'm from?
no, where?
Rochester, New York.
Oh wow. So you from 585.
Yeah.
You
So
know what
I
I mean?
used to work at a store called the House of Guitars there, and Rick James's people would come in and buy gear for me. So I know that connection very well.
Wow, small world, man. No, I didn't know you're from, Western New York as well. I mean, you know how it is. You're coming from there, man.
Freezing
It's a
cold.
blue collar. Yes, boy, that's one definitely. You know what I mean? And the older I get, the more I hate the cold.
Yeah,
But
same.
it's a blue collar town, man. You
Yep.
feel me? Like blue collar region. You know what I mean? We love our sports. You know what I mean? We love our food. You know what I mean? It's a family oriented region as well.
Yeah, and the other thing is, at Rochester, we would have pretty good music, but if somebody big came to town, I would have to drive to Buffalo. And the last time I was there, this is quite a while ago, I saw Prince in the Musicology tour. I think it was called the Marine Midland Arena, right?
Yeah. It was called. Listen, so it was Marine Midland, then it became HSBC, and now it's called Key Bank Arena.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Great
used to
town,
work
though.
for Marine. I actually worked for them. I used to work for that when I was
Really?
in grad school, man. Yeah.
You have done so much. Let me just give you a quick intro. Andre Howard is a seasoned music executive whose career spans A&R, artist management, marketing, and commerce, with a track record of success in both major and independent sectors of the industry. He began his career in A&R at Def Jam, working alongside legendary artists such as Jay-Z, DMX, Method Man, and Redman. Most recently, as head of commerce at United Masters, Andre has focused on empowering independent artists through fan engagement, acquisition, and streaming growth strategies. In collaboration with brand, sync, and product teams, he has contributed to the success of multiple multi-platinum artists. Currently, Andre serves as a marketing executive and adjunct professor at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts and the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music, where he mentors the next generation of music industry leaders, bringing real-world expertise in artist development, digital marketing, and commerce.
Thank you for that intro.
Yeah.
Sometimes, hearing all that, it takes me back, like literally through the journey, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like I almost forget that I've done some of that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because right now, like I'm such a focus on the present type person. You know what I mean? So like oh shit, I forgot
But
I did do
and
that. Or I work with this person.
that's why people like you are good at what you do, because you have a lot to draw from. You've got so many experiences when you're helping younger kids and younger adults. You've had everything gone wrong, you've had everything go right, and you can really help them calm down and say, look, you're going to be okay, but you might stumble along the way, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And the way that we know each other is I recently interviewed one of my students, King Raublo. What is your connection to King?
King, that's my guy, man. King was actually a student in one of the pipeline programs that I oversee the business department in at NYU at Clive. So Clive, it has two feeder programs where they bring in prospective students that they're trying to bring into the curriculum. One is called Future Music Moguls, and that's a 14-week program that spans from like February to May. And then there's another summer program called Summer High School, where they bring in students for a 5-week. It's kind of like truncated, but same amount of time because it's whereas the spring program is every week. The other one is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And in the summertime, and they come in then and they learn about different aspects of the music business. I oversee the business department, and the program that I teach is called the Foundations of Music Business. And what I do is I teach about every avenue in the business, man. Everything from A&R to marketing to publishing to branding, PR, management, live entertainment, etc. And what I like to do is I like to bring in someone who works in those particular areas and talk about, their journey, how they got into it. So if they're in A&R and they work with artists, I have them come in and talk about that. If they're a marketer, I have them come talk about that and how they got into the business. And I like to show the students, one, there's no straight line or straight path to any of this, because not everyone comes from musical backgrounds. Like a lot, I would say 3 out of 5 people probably come from really regular backgrounds, man.
Right.
They may have a sociology degree or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, or do something totally different than, like work in the music business. So I like to kind of show them that and show them how everything that they want to do in front of the camera, there's people behind the camera that's powering these things.
Yeah.
And so King was in my program summer of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I met King. LA kid, man, a lot of energy, slicker than a can of oil, but that's my guy.
Very stylish.
Yes.
Whenever
Yes.
I see King at school, I'm like, oh man, I could have dressed better. Look at that guy.
Yeah, you can. Listen, listen. He let you know too when he come at that he got that he got it on. You know what I mean? It's like you see me, like you see me.
Yeah.
But he's a good kid, man. His mom, like they're really well, like just vested in his success, man. Because I'll put you like this: that summer program ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. You know what I mean? Like this is NYU, so that we're talking about. So you're talking about one of the, probably the top maybe 20 universities in the college, including Ivy. So, it's a good program. It's a great program. And I love being a part of it.
I wanted to ask, one of King's friends is a amazing young woman. She calls herself DJ Avi Love, and she's part of a program out here in Los Angeles called Girls Make Beats. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's really amazing. What they do is they help young women come in, learn how to record music, but everything else, like the business side, how to produce, how to do everything. And I think it's very protective of these young people because we all know the stories of, somebody that is a great musician that goes and puts an album out, but they don't know enough to own their own publishing and things like that. So does this sound similar to what you're doing out there? You're helping young people make sure they know every aspect of the entertainment business so they can protect themselves, right?
1000%. Just so you can also just be knowledgeable about your business,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to look at yourself, almost like an INC or LLC, because again, a lot of the students in this program, they all want to be in front of the camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of them want to be artists, producers, DJs, etc. Right? So if that's the case, you know what I mean? Like we're in a time now, man, where, we're in an era where it's paramount that you kind of know how the business runs and works around you and, and understanding your ecosystem. So that's definitely one of the things I like to do. But more importantly, I like to kind of put it in a layman way so they can already understand as consumers, because so much of what the industry does now and what it's predicated on is kind of just already like their phones are in their hand.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
If it's 24 hours a day, let's say their phone is in their hand 10, 12 hours of the day. So
Yeah.
everything we're doing is marketed towards them.
Right.
So they don't even realize how much they already know as consumers,
Oh, that's a great point. And I would imagine that you're helping them think about longevity. I mean, just like somebody in sports. So let's say you have a young man that wants to be a rapper or a singer or a musician. They might do that for 10 years, but maybe they want to go into something else like you've done 100 times. Like maybe what I've seen out here in Los Angeles a lot, because I'm a drummer, a lot of drummers come out here and they end up producing because they can get more work and make some more money. So is that part of your program too? Helping these kids think about, what are you going to do down the line, even if you achieve all your dreams?
Yeah, definitely. And more importantly too, yes. I don't even want to say more importantly. Yes, 1000%, Malcolm. That's what it is. And the other side of it too, I was going to say, is letting them know that, listen, man, you can still be a part of this ecosystem if you're not in front of the camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm fortunate enough that I was able to make my passion into my profession by doing that. You know what I mean? Like, of course I wanted to be a rapper. I thought I was going to be fucking Rakim or, you know what I mean? Or a Tribe Called Quest or something like that. You know what I mean? Like Outkast, you know what I mean? Those are my favorites.
Yeah.
Right. But once I knew, that that wasn't what I was going to do.
Right.
The bug had already bitten me. I wasn't going anywhere, man.
Yeah.
And I also too was one of those people, like as a kid, man, I was reading credits. You know what I mean? So I wanted to know who was Bob Power. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was one of my colleagues, man. He just passed recently, you know,
Wow.
but I wanted to know who was Bob Power and where was Firehouse Studios and you know what I mean, and where was, you know, Green Street Studios and all these different places, man. You know, in Buffalo, looking at these Tribe Called Quest at you
Yeah.
know liner notes and stuff like that. So, you know, that curiosity, man, is what kind of made me continue to push forward. You know, even when you know I didn't feel like I had the artistic acumen.
Right. I recently finished watching the Wu-Tang Clan, the
Mhm.
dramatization. And I think
Yes,
that's a really great story to see how these friends were all together and not everybody ended up performing. A lot of their friends were behind the scenes, you know, whether it was the merchandising or the producing. And I think you make a great point. You know, don't give up because you want to go into entertainment. It doesn't turn out exactly like you want. You may find out you have great talent in something else and you can be a part of it, right?
100%. I mean, again, you know, talk about somebody who just passed. Rest in peace to you know, Power. You know, Oliver Grant. He was an integral part of their success in terms of building the brand of Wu Tang out.
Yes.
He literally, again, him and Bob Power, they both just passed probably like within a week of each other over the last probably, you
Wow.
know, not even, I don't even think it's been a month since either one of them been deceased. But, but yes, man, I mean, you know, again, they're one of, they're a great example of this building and having like this infrastructure to where you have, you know, the performers, right? You have the actual group,
Yeah.
you have the management, right? And the team who build it, you know, who make sure that, you know, Wu-Tang Inc. is locked in. And you're talking about the Wu-Tang logo, man, and not to kind of go off on a tangent on this, but
Yeah.
you know, because it's funny you brought it up because you know, just talking about marketing and branding,
Yeah.
that logo is just as identifiable as Nike check or the McDonald's logo,
Well,
right? Like if you see that W, you know what it is.
I
You know
got
what
to
I mean?
tell you
Like
this. Listen, I've been a teacher from every grade from kinder to 12 out here in LA since 2013. And every day I'll see all kinds of people wearing Wu-Tang or Misfits t-shirts. And I often go, what's your favorite song? And they go, what? And they don't realize
yeah,
that
they don't know what
these
it is.
artists have been branded so well to the point that people just like how they look. And that's
They
brilliant.
just like how they look, man. That Misfit tee, I know exactly what you're talking about with the Misfit tee. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's another one that's kind of like that too. It's not as big as those two, but like the cramps.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? With like
Yeah.
that guy's face. You know what I mean? It's like you'll see that. You know what I mean? It's like, yo. But again, man, that's branding, man. Like that's great marketing. Like, well, obviously too, the music got to mean something too, right? Like you can't just have these like cool logos and like no one can identify to what the artist and what they're talking about or what it means and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. But you know what I mean? But when you get that almost like trifecta, you know what I mean, to where like there's like artistic integrity with the music.
Yes.
The brand and the logo is great. And then people love, you know what I mean, your sound, or they may love, you know what I mean, like love your look. Man, you're cooking with oil or gas, man. Like it becomes so combustible that you know what I mean, like it's damn near unstoppable, you know?
Yeah. And that's why I really love what you do, encapsulating every aspect of the business. Let's take a turn here because the number one focus of this interview is what you and I talked about, your new book, Hitting the Head. I'm really
Oh,
excited about
yes.
this. And just very quickly for everybody, Hitting the Head is a compelling photography and art book that dives deep into the heart of New York City's iconic dive bar scene. A dive bar is a low-key, unpretentious neighborhood tavern known for inexpensive drinks, a lived-in atmosphere, and a loyal local clientele. I think this is fascinating, and I love the photos. I love that you include all the graffiti, actually what people say. Everybody's been in a bathroom stall, and you see crazy art in there, and sometimes it makes you laugh out loud. So what drove you to make this book?
I was a lush. No, I'm joking. uh in all seriousness, man, it was a situation. I was this did come about from you know, these are places that I used to frequent and kind of go out and, you know, and get my roll on, get my serve on.
Yeah,
But, you know, it really was a situation, man, where I picked up the camera to continue to control my creative outlet.
right.
At the time I was managing a group. They had a deal. they were kind of breaking up and kind of going about their separate ways. Like we were getting out of the deal. And so the analogy I like to use when you're an artist manager, because I still manage, artists now.
Right.
But the analogy I like to use, man, is almost like you're running a relay race, right? And you're waiting for someone to hand you the baton because you can only do, what I mean? Like you're kind of like in in the starting blocks until someone gives you like something to go do. You know what I mean? Like if
Right.
they're not, if an artist is going through creative block, you know what I mean? If they're going through, any type of turmoil or not even turmoil, but if they're just going through a situation where they're not creating, you can't really do anything around them. So me picking up the camera was a way to control my creative output.
Yeah.
And so, just me being in these places all the time, man, I'm like, yo, I just found the beauty in the grime and in the dirt. You know what I mean? Because, it's definitely, listen, dive bars are in every city. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like New
yeah.
York isn't, they aren't unique in that regard. You feel me? Like you're going to find one in LA, you know what I mean? And in Chicago and DC,
Buffalo,
Detroit, Buffalo. Listen,
Rochester. Yeah.
rest in peace to the old Pink that burned down a couple years ago, but there's a great dive bar out there.
Yep.
But I was gonna say, what makes unique? I mean, what makes NYC unique from any other places is just the people inside the dive bars, right? So
Yeah.
like, it's like a community because I mean, obviously, you got different type of clientele. You may have young people, you may have the hipsters or the college age people, but depending on how long a place was in a particular neighborhood, it's really a community staple. You feel me? So you're gonna have the old people in there, like the older people in there who've been going there, and that's their after work joint, and they may go in there and have, a beer or a shot or two,
Yep.
and before they go home, and then you may have what I mean? So I always looked at it like, oh, this is a place that people either come to forget or come to remember. You know what I mean? Like they're celebrating or they're just trying to like time is passing by. So, I just wanted to document that. And I did, man. I went to, over 100 dive bars in all five boroughs.
Wow.
Like Bronx, Brooklyn,
How long did it
uh,
take you to put all
Staten
this
Island.
together? Like when did you start?
Oh man, that's a great question, man. That project, it just came out this year in January 2026. I worked on that project from 2010 to 2012.
Wow.
So all those pictures, and listen, that's only and what's in the book is probably really like maybe 1/4, what I mean, of what I really have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put out a deluxe version, as well,
Oh,
a
cool.
hard copy because this
Yeah.
one is paperback. But the other thing about it is too, and this is where the story becomes more compelling and why I am like I'm turning this thing into an exhibit. I'm working on making an exhibit, as well, and doing a talk and continue to do a talk around the book is because it touches on different things, man. It touches on urbanization, it touches on entrepreneurialism, know what I mean? And it touches on, like creators, right? And the urbanization is the fact that, man, more than half the locations in this book, they're gone now.
Yeah.
Like they're not there. And you're talking about some of these places had been around for 20, 30 years, but, they're displaced by high-end hotels or banks or commercial real estate or residential real estate, and again, New York City, the prices are ever going up. Like there's images in the book, man, where you can see, some like written on boards like, oh, beer and shot special, $5. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now it may be well drink, you know what I mean? Like, you may be, get yourself a little Rolling Rock and some bottom
Yeah.
shelf shit, but like but even that now is probably $10, $12 for a shot, beer shot special, you know what I
So
mean?
you're
So
saying it's like a time capsule too?
yeah, it is. It's definitely that. It's a time capsule, man. You know what I mean? Like it captures images and it captures people, places and spaces, man, from a time of a New York time that's just long gone.
And I
I'm
think
not one of these people that yearn, too, for like, oh man, like, oh, back in the day, listen, I've been in New York City, man, damn near 28 years, you know what I mean? But so I've seen a lot of changes here, but time goes on, but it's definitely a time capsule.
yeah, it makes me go back in time because I think that everybody in their early 20s, they finally have freedom. They go check out. And I think they identify with these places because it's part of the community. There was
Mhm.
one of the quotes that was on the wall you put down. It said, "You're not drunk if you can lie on the floor without hanging on." Now
Thank you.
that made me
Yeah,
laugh out
yeah.
loud because a lot of people, they have too many drinks and they just really funny stuff comes out. But in Rochester, there's a bar that I used to go to that is still there called the Bug Jar. And this made me think of that because if you go into this, they have furniture. It's like a whole room is nailed to the ceiling. And that's why it's called the
Oh
bug
wow.
jar, because you feel like you're upside down, like you're hanging from the ceiling. And that quote right there just brought me back to my early days.
Listen, man, people post some of the most lewd, crazy,
Oh,
and this goes beyond just, hey, for a good time, call 555-1212. You know what I
right,
mean?
right, right, right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, people post crazy stuff, man. You know what I mean? And, you get some political stuff. You know what
Yep.
I mean? You get some racist stuff. You feel me?
I think you're touching upon the fact that it's like the early version of the internet. Because someone's in a stall,
Mhm.
they're going to write something they would never say to someone else. And they're just going to put it up there. And that's what's going on with the internet, right? A lot of these people are hiding behind their screens and saying things maybe they shouldn't or they never would. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is this was originally coming out of these dive bars, right?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
And I love
Like,
that. I love that you not only have the inside of these bars, but the outside. The architecture is fascinating. Like this one photo you took, the doors to get in there had eyes over them, so it's like you're you're going into this vortex.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That bar it was called Port 41, if I recall.
Yeah,
And again, and listen, man, and you talking about a time capsule. One, that bar's gone now,
yeah,
but that bar was in Hell's Kitchen, and the reason why it's called Port 41 because it was right behind Port Authority, the bus station. So imagine if imagine you come into the city in the 80s. You know, because I don't know how long it was there, but definitely probably like 90s. You know what I mean? Like late 90s, 2000. But New York City Port Authority is just known for, that's kind of like what's the movie with Taxi Driver? You feel me? Like now
oh
obviously
yeah,
you're talking about 20, 30 years, but that area, it was dicey back in the day. You know what I mean? Like it was super dicey, man. Like, certain parts of New York that kind of got that grind back, because of fentanyl and all this heroin shit.
oh
But,
yeah.
like, but Times Square back in the day, man, oof,
Before it was cleaned
like
up, and you talk about that in your
yeah,
book.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
100%, man. That's people again, man. All the people who yearn for New York, that was the old New York, are people who aren't from New York. Because you're from New York, man. You're like, I don't want that fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like dope fiends everywhere. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like pornography spots everywhere.
Well, it's interesting. I just listened to a new interview with David Byrne, the singer of the Talking Heads, and he was
Yeah, yeah, I'm a
talking
big
about
fan.
how when back at the same time, he and all the punk bands, I mean, the early ones like Blondie and the Ramones, yeah, it was a dangerous, crazy place, but because of that, they could live really cheap in a loft and
Yeah,
they could
man.
practice. So I think out of that, I've taught my students because I'm a music teacher about the beginnings of hip hop music, punk,
Hmm.
all this stuff grew out of that crazy time that you are photographing in your book.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it like this, it's like, and all this predates me, man. But if you think about the '70s in New York City, man,
Yeah.
like, you had all this, like this. This is when kind of like, I think Gerald Ford, one of them, it was a big thing about. It's a documentary called, I forgot, like Hell City or something like that, where like
Yeah.
they basically told New York City to go fuck themselves. You
Right.
feel me? Like the
Right.
government wasn't helping them. The Bronx was burning, literally. Like
Yeah.
every building was fucking like bombed out.
Yep.
Know what I mean? But you had in the Bronx this thing was happening called hip hop, right? People were creating that and stuff like that. And then and you think about downtown New York and Queens and stuff like that, you had punk rock and rock starting to kick off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and these now these neighborhoods are so you couldn't buy an apartment nowadays or a loft in Tribeca, right?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? But people would not go below 14th Street, man, to the Lower East Side. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because if you weren't from that area, know what I mean? Like, hey, you had a real bad chance of running into some shit that you didn't want to run into. But David Byrne is 100% correct, man. Like, what I mean? You think about the Talking Heads and Madonna, who was here around,
Yep.
coming here, like Basquiat, 70s,
Yeah.
80s. Like,
Andy
like you
Warhol.
had all this different, Andy Warhol, man. You had all these different things, man. The Ramones, know what I mean? You had CBGBs, you know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah.
when these were all these like iconic bands, played and got their start, around different places in the city, man. So, New York is always going to have that edge to it. Bloomberg kind of Disneyfied it.
Yeah.
Like I can kind of go through and see because I was here when so you had excuse me Giuliani policed it, made it a police state,
Right.
right?
That
But they
was,
cleaned it up though.
yeah.
a little bit. You know what I mean? Like
I
I'm
remember
not.
that was a big change. I remember going there before
Yeah,
and
a hundred
after that.
percent.
Yeah.
100%, man. Like, I don't condone what he did, but he cleaned it up. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Because it was, New York was having fucking like 4,000 homicides a year. That doesn't sound like a lot. That's a lot, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted, it's a city of 8 million people. You know what I mean? But that's still a lot of people dying. But then Bloomberg Disneyfied it. So Bloomberg is what brought the glitz back to Times Square and,
Yeah.
and brought in these big corporate, Disney has all that stuff. And then, De Blasio was kind of like a wet noodle, you know what I mean? And Eric Adams, he kind of didn't do much. But at the same time, man, I just say like, one thing I love about New York City, man, unlike any other city in the world I've ever been to, is that it's its own checks and balances.
Yes.
Meaning you can go 5 blocks one way and be in some unsavory shit, and
Yeah.
then you can go 5 blocks the total direction and you be fucking around, 4, 5, $10 million penthouses, you know what I mean, in brownstones.
Right.
Right. But it's also forced interaction and community. Right. And that's the one thing the book kind of highlights as well. Like it's through image, not through, it's not, I didn't directly write that, but like New York City is its own interaction and forced interaction because anywhere you go, man, you're commuting with 100 or 200 people on a train that you don't know.
Yeah.
So everyone has to kind of keep the peace and keep the balance, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just about like, I used to always think, man, now I don't even want to put this energy in the universe, but just if somebody want to do something crazy in New York City, they could, man. It's so easy to do it.
Oh, yeah.
You can just
And
get on the fucking train.
I love how you say on the subway, everybody's normalized, everybody's equalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's equalized, man. So it's like, you're all on the same footing. I don't give a damn if you work on Wall Street or you're fucking, you're a custodial worker or you're a teacher, whatever. Like we're all commuting to the same, going in the same direction.
Everybody's got to get home somehow.
Exactly. But that also keeps everybody on their P's and Q's and makes like, because one thing, again, New Yorkers, we come together really quick, man. I seen it, you know what I mean? I was here during 9/11. I've been here during other, smaller crises. I was here when the power grid went out.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like New Yorkers will band together quick. Listen, we're quick to tell you fuck you and not say something and screw face you and not speak to each other. But people will fucking come together like Voltron, man, when it's time. Like if it's a threat that, that a public threat that can hurt everyone. You know what I mean? You'll see people band together really quickly.
Yeah, it seems shocking if you haven't been there, but yeah, fuck you is pretty much how they say hello there.
Yeah, basically. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to know? Why you ask me 2 fucking questions? You know what I mean? Like, like, fuck you looking at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the one thing I say about New York is, man, always in a rush to get to the next light. That's what it is, man. Like you're literally in a rush to get to the next red light. Just fucking relax. You know what I mean? Like, and I realize as I get older, I'm taking that energy. Like, just relax, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to fucking be stressing out about anything. I don't even like to use the term stress.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and we learn that as we get older. Your book reminded me of 2 of my favorite movies. When I first moved out to LA, I wanted to go to King Eddie's Saloon because that's where Charles Bukowski would hang out. And that's a really famous dive bar. And if you want to get a feeling for what that was like, there's a great movie with Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway called Barfly. And it just all takes place in a dive bar. So number 1, I recommend that. And then in New York City, did you ever see that Griffin Dunn movie After Hours about the guy that's just trying to get home and everything goes wrong, and then he ends up in a couple dive bars, and I think that really encapsulated the time that we're talking about, right?
100%. That movie came out in 1985, man. It's so funny you say that. Like I know that movie well. You know what I mean? It's like
every line. And, it's got Cheech and Chong. It's got everybody in it.
Yeah, I think Patricia Arquette is in it.
Oh, Rosanna, Rosanna.
Yeah, Rosanna. Yeah, I knew one of our cats was in it. But yeah, man, I definitely remember it. You know what I mean? That's funny, But yeah, but that's the dope thing about New York, man, is that you'll get those different type of you know what I mean? Like you'll get those different type of pockets, man. Like you can. I always say, man, what I love about New York, man, is I could do some hipster shit, I could do some hood shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So like, if I want to do my hipster stuff, I'll be in a dive bar, man. I'll go to the Lower East Side. I'll go to Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll go out to, the Sunny Side, Queens, right? You know what I mean? But, I live in Harlem, you feel me? So You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things, like if I want certain aesthetics, I could do that too, you know? So,
You got the
but,
Apollo.
yeah, the Apollos, it's beautiful, man. They actually refurbishing it right now, but it's,
Wow. Iconic.
New York is, New York is a a living, like, man, like the streets are literally breathing here, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite like Europe where you can go touch a building that's older than our country. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Right.
but you know what I mean? But New York definitely has a history unlike most places in the country. I would say probably New York, LA, and Chicago. You know what I mean? Like those three cities in and of itself, like just a different history that they have around certain things.
There's that movie, Gangs of New York. Not only do
Yes.
I recommend it because it's an astounding movie, but if you get the Blu-ray, it comes with a documentary about the history of New York that's absolutely fascinating. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely good movie. Scorsese, Caprio,
Daniel Day-Lewis,
Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah,
all the heavy hitters.
yeah, definitely. Dan Day-Lewis, he I think he just came back, made a movie. He had retired for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
But
He did.
yeah,
His son directed a movie, and he's back doing that. So
yeah, 100%.
the main focus of my podcast is creativity. And before we get deep into it, I wanted to ask you, what were your musical talents? Were you a singer, rapper? Did you play an instrument? What did you grow up doing music-wise?
I was like, no, that was about to damn near disrespect Quincy Jones. I was about to say I was like Quincy Jones. I was nowhere like Quincy Jones. I mean, my thing is, I always knew from a production standpoint, I always knew what I wanted to hear in the track. But I was in high school, man, in my high school marching band where I played trombone,
Oh, wow.
a little bit of bass. I was like a backup bassist and like a backup drummer.
Wow. A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I bet that makes you a good producer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, I also have synesthesia, so I see sound. So I kind of like, like like the color and the shape of music. I kind of see it a little bit differently.
I totally know what you're talking about because the great jazz drummer Elvin Jones had that. And I'll never forget the documentary about him. And he hit a crash cymbal and he'd be like, "That's green." And then he hit a snare drum, "Is that purple?" So I think that's really fascinating. Does that still affect your life?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just know how to hone in on it now. You know what I mean? As a kid, you know what I mean? Like, my friends used to call me Rain Man, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, that's so blue, or that's, you know what I mean? They're like, man, don't start that Rain Man shit. You know what I mean? But it's funny. Listen, you laugh at that because you must be old enough to know the movie Rain Man.
Oh, yeah?
But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, But, yeah, 100%. But now it's kind of like if I listen to something, man, I could just hone in on like one. Obviously I hear every element of the beat, but I could just hone in on like almost like one color, if that makes sense. Like, and it's usually for me,
right?
It's usually like the drum or the snare or something. You feel me? Or, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's usually the drum or the snare. I'll like, you know what I mean? Cause again, those are the brightest things for me. You know what I mean? Like snares are always like white. I mean, yeah, like, no, hi, I'm pardon me. Like that. That's always like a white or a yellow, you know what I mean?
That's really cool. I can see that. Yeah. Especially with an artist like Prince, and he had so many different snare drum sounds. I mean, of course, a lot came from the Lindrum and stuff like that, but yeah, I think
100%. Now, when I listen to a group like Mobb Deep, on the rap side, that's always dark. It's always dark. You know what I mean? Like grays, browns, purple, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
And they detune it a lot too, so it's got that really heavy.
Yeah.
What was your first creative memory?
No, man, damn, that's a hard question. It's a good question. It had to be maybe a rap I wrote. You know what I mean? Like as a kid. You know what I mean? Like as, as a junior high kid or something, you know what I mean? Like kind of like a rap. I'm like, oh, I remember my buddy, they had this collective, him and his buddies, they was called like Rhyme, Rhythm, and Reason.
Yeah.
And I remember like trying to get down with them, you know what I mean? And like, just have my own, they try to, I was a soloist, but, I really wanted to be in a collective, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think maybe around then, man.
How old were you?
Shit, maybe like teens, maybe 13, 14 or something like that, But, it's funny, man, like, because even prior to that, one thing that really stand out that I was going to say, because you asked about music, and so I kind of went that way. But I remember, man, I drew a picture in art class, and I wish I would have fucking saved it because I could still see it in my inner mind's eye right now, man. I was probably like seventh grade. But I remember I drew a picture, man, of like it was a catch, man, where the Giants had beat Denver in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I remember like I don't know, like Mark Bavaro or something like that. I forget, man, but I should remember like I did it with like chalk. You know what I mean? Like it was like chalk on like a black, like like a black what they call them paper, like
A
not
black.
cardboard.
Oh, like
You know,
black
type
construction
of
paper?
paper. Yeah, construction paper. There you go, brother. It was like so, it's like the orange and the black, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The blue from Denver and like the white and red, you know what I mean? And I just remember, man, like I was so proud of that fucking drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what happened to it, man, but that's the first real thing I should remember being like, oh, okay. Now I can't draw to save my life, you know what I
Right.
mean? But that thing always stood out to me, you know what I mean?
I always love art that's not typical. What would be a way to say it? I think that's why I like Basquiat so much,
Yes.
because he's not, he's not like copying the masters. He's not trying to look like someone else. There's just this unique, blazing soul that comes out of him. And if you've ever seen one of his paintings, it looks like
Of course.
nothing you've ever seen before. And it's like you're stepping into another realm.
Now, can I give you the antithesis to that is
Please.
it took me a long time to appreciate his art, man. Like I didn't appreciate his art until I got older.
Yeah.
Because for that very reason, because I used to be like, man, this is some bullshit. This looks like a kid drew it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like what is this like stick drawing shit? You know what I mean? Because it could go back to my synesthesia or just how I loving visual arts. Like I love like John Singer Sargent type shit. You feel
Right.
me? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like fucking, Picasso and all that type of stuff. So, like I didn't appreciate Pollock and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So that same thing, I'm like, man, this look like a damn monkey just threw this shit on the fucking canvas. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this ain't no art. You know what I mean? But what you have to take into account is for all that is the time of it, because it was different. No one was doing that at the time.
Right.
Now, I mean, what Basquiat was doing, no one was doing what Basquiat was doing at the time. So it was so avant-garde. It was different.
Very brave.
And more importantly, it was brave. And more importantly, what I love about Basquiat is his commitment to paper, his line on paper, meaning most times, when artists do things, man, like, especially if you're a painter or something, like you're sketching and you're drawing over and you're stroking. Now, I mean, just to do things. If you look at most of his art, man, once the pen or paper or whatever tool he's used to touch it, and he made a item, that was it. He didn't go back. He didn't double back and kind of like shape around it or shade it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you look at the crown, like once he did those like whatever 5 or 8 lines, probably like 8 or 6 lines, and it took like bottom, triangle. You feel me? So like you're talking about like 2, 4, 6. Whatever those 7 lines was, that's what it was. You know what I mean? Like he didn't kind of like that was a real commitment to how he was doing his art. And most artists, like they would feel like it's not done or it's half done.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I think he was very confident. And what you're making me think of is a lot of artists. Let's take Picasso because you brought him up. If you really follow his art, at the beginning, he's copying the masters, then he comes up with his own style, and then he's doing cubism. But at the very end of his life, he's drawing very simple things that almost look like a child could have drawn them. And then I can equate that to music. One of my favorite drummers is this guy, Steve Gadd, very well known for playing with Paul Simon and Eric Clapton. But he's about to turn 81, and he's gone from playing very complicated, impossible stuff to being able to get a club to clap around him playing the simplest groove. And have you found this as an artist yourself, or the people that you work with, that as we get older, we leave more space, we are closer to who we really are, and we don't, like if you're an author, maybe the last few books you write are shorter because you know how to condense that stuff. And I think what you're saying about Basquiat is he figured that out at an early age. He didn't have to be 80. He was, I mean,
it's a similar situation.
How old was he when he died? He was really young, right?
Like 20, 27, I think.
Yeah,
I think he's part of 27 club, man.
He was peaking at that young age. It's amazing.
Listen, I think he's part of 27 club. Yeah. It kind of goes to the same thing as Tupac Shakur, right? Like same, like like this,
Kurt Cobain,
like they're Yeah, like they were super prolific, man, because they figured it out. Like they figured it out very early. Know what I mean? They figured out what worked for them. You know what I mean? And they figured out how to, I don't even want to say connect with an audience because I don't think it was about that for any of the three. I don't like Tupac, Basquiat, or Kurt. I don't think they were doing anything to make a connection. I think they were doing, I think what they were doing almost spoke to audience. You feel me? Like directly of people like them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe that. I mean, maybe I guess not in a roundabout way. That was their way of making the connection. Was like they're just speaking from a place of angst or anger or expression that spoke to people who felt like them at that time, and they figured it out really early. So you're right, man. And not to even bring it back to. I mean, this conversation is kind of centered around the book. I think that's why there's like my whole book, man. I think there might be only 7 pages. You got to talk about 190 pages. There might be 7 pages of actual text in there
Yeah.
because I didn't want it to be about, what I mean, I wanted the images to kind of speak for themselves. Like all I wanted to do was kind of touch on the things that was happening around it. You know what I mean? Like why I did it. You know what I mean? Like what was happening sonically at that time in New York City or what I was listening to. You feel me? Or a jukebox that the bars me had. But I really wanted the images to tell the story in that regard. So that is, I did take a less is more approach with that because when I first got with the publisher and I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing and have this cool typography and this cool like thing where I like kind of talk about if they had jukeboxes and if there was the hipster quotient and all that. I'm like, you know what, man, I don't need to do all that. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to just strip it down and this is what it is.
Well, that one photo really jumped out to me. All these fake
ID,
IDs, yeah, that were on the wall, and
yeah,
it says, "You fake them, we take them." And everybody knows, even back in the day when I was younger, getting a fake ID when you're underage to get into a bar, and I'm sure it's way easier now. But you didn't put any text there because the photo and what the wall said told the story.
yeah, 100%. 100%. That's this bar called Ruby's, man. That's also it's in Hell's Kitchen. That bar is very unique, man. And it's just making my stomach hurt right now because I don't even eat this shit anymore. Like I don't eat pork. I don't eat hot dogs or franks as we call it. I don't eat frank. But that bar, you drink and they give you free franks in there. You know what I mean? It's like So imagine just drinking. Just imagine people getting shit faced and then eating hot dogs and throwing that shit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But like,
the classic
but yeah,
give you something salty, so you need to buy more drinks, right?
exactly. You know what I mean? 100%, brother.
Were your parents creative? Did you grow up in a creative environment? And do you find yourself, with all the talents that you have, ever saying to yourself, oh, I get that from my mom or I get that from my dad?
I love you, mom. No disrespect, but not particularly. You know what I mean? Like, but I say that with all due respect because I don't even know, and I need to ask her this, man. You know what I mean? Because she's my last living matriarch or patriarch.
Yeah.
My pops have, since passed on, and seeing my grandparents. But I don't even know what sacrifice she made
Yeah.
because she had kids. You know what I mean? Like I know she had some type of dream or creative, you know what I mean, wanted to do something,
Right.
you know what I mean, other than, get into the field of nursing and medical stuff like that. But no, I mean like my home man, only thing I can say is that about my family, man, with 100% is that we were just close. Meaning like I lived probably within like a 5 block radius, 10 block radius from like my aunts, my grandmom, you know what I mean? Like my cousins and stuff like that. We all lived in a very, very, very close radius of each other.
Yeah.
But, so it was just like a loving family, but it wasn't like any like particular creativity.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
to
mean? Like it
me,
was like,
you're a very unique version of a right and left brained person because you're very organized, you're very business savvy, but you're also very creative. So maybe just the balance of everybody in your family. Where do you think you got all that?
yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. I would say, yeah, that probably definitely comes from my parents. You know what I mean? Come from my grandmother. You know what I mean? And stuff like that, just in terms of organization and
Yeah.
running the household and stuff like that. So yeah, I would get that from them, man. And I just didn't want to, like to me, I think once music found me, man, and creativity found me, I was just elated because it just gave me purpose and direction. You know what I mean? Because like, again, I was kind of aimless, man, growing up. And not aimless or wayward, but just I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like so I'm like, oh man, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? But once the music really dug in, I just knew I wanted to be a part of it. And then once I learned that you could make a profession out of it without being in front of the camera,
Right.
I knew it was that. I knew that's exactly what I was going to do. You know?
Yeah. Do you think creativity could be implemented in curing people or at least helping people with mental health struggles such as depression, anxiety? Any specific insight on yourself or the people that you work with?
100%, 1000%. I manage an artist by the name of DDK, and he suffers with bipolarism. I don't know how to say that correctly, and mental health struggles. But he learned through his music is like that helps him keeps him sane. You know what I mean? Like the music is what actually keeps him from suffering, if that makes any sense. So
It's
like,
like
he's
therapy.
always writing. Yes, it's like therapy for him, man. So he's always writing, always recording, you know what I mean, and always putting out stuff, and it gives him something to talk about. More importantly, to even to the question that you're asking, it makes him relatable because, he's a 25, 26-year-old kid, you know what I mean? And like, so he's still speaking to his generation and kids younger than them that shows them like there's more to life. You know what I mean? Like there's a way. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to succumb to this. You know what I mean? Like, or you don't have to let it afflict you in a way to where you feel like, you know what I mean, you can't do, be, say, go, etc. You know what I mean? Like you can still be very functional, very how your contributions to society. You know what I mean? Just it gives him that way out,
Yeah, and I think that
But
all of
but yes,
us,
I think music is healing, man. Music is very healing.
absolutely, and I think that all of us as artists, we tend to have more highs and lows than regular people. And I just read an interview with Charlie XCX, and apparently she struggles with borderline personality disorder, which is very different than bipolar, but equally challenging. And she said the
Hmm.
same thing, that she's working through her issues by doing her art and her music and her lyrics. And it seems to help everybody come back down to baseline. If you can work through these struggles with your art, it helps you level everything out so you can deal with society and life and everything else that's difficult for you.
No, 100%. I think anything that you're passionate about is going to give you some type of direction, right? It's like a weather vane that it kind of, like if you're passionate about art, if you're passionate about music, if you're passionate about film, you know what I mean? If you're passionate about architecture, whatever the case may be, man, like anything that you have, that you spend waking hours thinking about and want to do, especially if you're doing something else, but you're thinking about that, then you should pursue that. You know what I mean? Like there's honor and want to do that, especially if you're not doing it just from a monetary standpoint, like, oh, I'm trying to do this because I want to become the richest or you know what I mean, da da da.
Yeah.
But like if you have a genuine like passion about, the arts and English and plays and poems and want to be a writer, then do that. You know what I mean? I feel like the universe, I'm saying it in that term because I'm very much Christian, so I believe in God. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, but I don't push my beliefs on anyone, but I'm just saying, like, what I do know for a fact is that God will give you wins, man. He'll give you different things that puts you in a position to show you, okay, cool, I'm on the right path. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is leading me down the right path. Like I don't feel like I'm going in the wrong direction.
Like
You know what I mean?
discernment,
So
right?
yes, you know what I mean? Like the discernment to say, because you'll have basically you'll have little victories, man. Know what I mean? And it won't just be moral victories. Like it'll be things that's tangible to say, okay, cool, I'm not wasting my time doing this and pursuing this. I feel like, that's what happens sometimes. People feel like they're doing something and they're just like, right, they give up right before they do get that one win, man. You know what I mean? Like right before
Yeah.
someone says, hey, you know what, hey, we need somebody to come open up for it, this artist here, or you know what, this gallery is, they're giving opportunities to up and coming artists to showcase paintings or drawing, you know what I mean, art, or like a slam, a poetry slam is happening. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people stop right, before they're actually have opportunities to kind of continue to grow.
Yeah.
That's the gift and curse, I would say, of being someone who's creative, because we're creative and we could do these different things that most people can't do. It comes with the burden of, if you're, again, like you said, if you're left and right brain, to where you're like, you know what, I'm good at business, so I'm going to get into business and I'm going to work for IBM or
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck you mean. Like, and again, I'm not disparaging that because listen, everything has its place and purpose.
Yeah.
But that couldn't be me, man. I couldn't fucking work in no bank. You know what I mean? Like I'd be miserable. You know what I mean? Like making fucking 3, 4 times the money I'm making now, I still would be miserable. I wouldn't want to do that shit.
Yeah, you got to do the art for art's sake.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I'm grateful, bro. Like that's it.
This question is just for me. When I was younger, I loved Busta Rhymes, especially "Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See and Give Me Some More." You did work with
Hmm.
Busta Rhymes, right? At one point, what did you do?
I did. I did. I did. I was I was kind of like his day to day in like a junior manager underneath his real manager.
Wow,
So I got to see Buster on and off camera. Very unique individual,
one of a
very
kind.
driven. Yeah, very driven, one of a kind. I mean, listen, Buster's been around since 1991.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that isn't that was his like actual debut. You feel me? Like being on like the scenario 91, 92 with Tribe Called Quest. So that doesn't even include probably like 2 or 3 years prior to that. You know what I mean? With them, paying their dues and trying to make it. So what's that? 91, and we're in 2026 right now.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So we talking about fucking damn near 40 years, 35 plus years, almost
That's
40 years in the
longevity.
business.
Damn.
It's longevity, man. Like listen, there's certain artists, man, they've been more than half their lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and he
You
turned out
know?
to be a fantastic actor too. I wish I could
Yep.
remember the name of the movie, but the one he did with Sean Connery, if you haven't seen that, oh my God, he's
Oh
great.
yeah, yeah. It's called Finding Forrester.
Yes. God, he was so good, and I really dug his music, and I'm like, damn, this guy can act too. And his videos, like the songs I named, they're still ahead of their time. They are crazy. I mean,
No, 100%. I
I
mean,
don't know who the cinematographer was, but good God.
gentleman by the name of Hype Williams. Hype Williams was the one who would do a lot of his visuals back in the day, and him and a woman by the name of Missy Elliott.
Oh, of course.
Uh,
Love Missy.
like he would yeah, like so Hype Williams was the director who was ahead of his time, man, with that type of stuff.
It's timeless.
Incredible director.
Timeless.
Yeah, incredible director, man.
Yeah, if you're watching anything
You know?
now and you think it's weird, go back and watch those.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. It's funny, man. I actually tweeted at Missy last night. It's so funny just bringing this up because I was in the gym and I was listening to her music, and I tweeted at her, man. And I'm like, Missy, like you don't even understand. Like your shit was 20, 30 years ahead of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like of its time. And like she hit me back with just like the heart emoji and like like a crying emoji. Like you know what I mean? It blew me out. Like oh shit, Missy hit me back on Twitter. But like literally, like it literally, like when you listen to that shit, man, it doesn't sound like it came out 20 years ago.
No.
I mean, and it still sounds fresh today,
Yeah. I was shocked at how timeless it was. I was rewatching the videos last night. And speaking of Missy Elliott, I'll never forget that. What is that song where she comes out and everybody's like dancing in like, I don't know if they're garbage bags or plastic bags. I was like, what is
like,
going on?
Yeah, it's called The Rain. That was like her debut, man,
Yeah, nobody like her. Busta Rhymes once said this. He said, I'm trying to set up opportunities for myself so that I don't have one outlet to go through and rely upon as far as support system financially, emotionally, and mentally. What do you think about that?
I think, listen, that sounds about right, man. Busta, I think he had a purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he had a purpose, like, and music was his calling, and he was able to, kind of do that and spread his message through, the music. You know what I mean? Like, Busta's very unique in that regard, man. Like, he's one of a kind. Like, there's not too many like him. And there'll never be another one like him anyway.
And he made his own opportunities. It makes me think of Whoopi Goldberg, too. Like, nobody would give her work. And so she said, fine, I'm going to make my own show. And like Busta Rhymes, that's how it took off.
Yeah, man. She made her own one-woman show, should I say.
Yeah.
And it took off. I mean, and what is she, like one of probably 20 people with an EGOT?
Yeah.
Right?
How can I help you? Number one, how would you like people to purchase your book? Directly, Amazon? What's the best way?
I think the best way for people to grab the book, you can go to Amazon. You can go to hittingthehead.com. You can go to Goff Books. That's my publisher, GOFFbooks.com. It's everywhere, man. You can get it in BarnesandNobles.com. Anywhere you grab books. It's an art book. It's a coffee table style book. Something. It's definitely something if you have on your coffee table at home. And a friend come over and they flip through it. I'm like, man, what is this? They're like,
Yeah,
this is
conversation
this is
piece,
unique.
right?
Yes, 100%. So I think that's what makes it unique as well. So anywhere, hittingthehead.com, you can grab it there too. That's the site. It's my website. So you can grab it there as well.
I did notice you're on LinkedIn. So I think what you're doing in New York at the schools, that's probably the best way to see what you're up to in that aspect of your life, right?
Correct. They definitely can reach me on LinkedIn.
And you're on Instagram too. That shows a little bit of everything.
Yep. Instagram. You can Hitting the Head on Instagram, literally HITTINGTHEHEAD. That's the site for the page. If you're interested in checking out some stuff. My particular personal page is Dre Howard.
What if there is an aspiring young artist that either wants some advice on the different steps they should take towards success, or maybe somebody actually wants to work with you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You could definitely reach out on LinkedIn. You can hit me up on like on Instagram, Dre Howard, DREHOWARD. Send me a DM. Same with the Hitting the Head. You could DM me there. And what advice I would give is just don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Like, I can't stress that. I can't say that enough. Like, you have to fill yourself up, and you can't use your tongue against yourself. The world is already going to be against you, so don't use your tongue against yourself to say what you can and cannot do. Actually, say what you can do, but don't say what you cannot do. Put yourself, in position and hold that image in your mind and your heart and work towards it. It's not going to be easy. Anything worth having is not going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
But one thing for sure is if you stop, you won't get it at all. So don't give up. Don't give up.
I love that. Dre, it has been so rewarding and fascinating to talk to you. Could we maybe do this again sometime soon?
Yes, indeed, man. Malcolm, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on the program, man. I really do.
True pleasure for me. Thanks, Dre. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you, brother.
Hello, my name is Jefferson De Leon, and I am a scientist in the biotech sector and a comedy musician, and I am a proud sponsor of the Creativity is the Cure podcast, because creativity is central to who I am and what I do. Check out my creations on my website, jeffersondeleone.com. That is JEFFERSONDELEONE.com.